Welcome back. In order to curb the rising instances of unethical practices in the pharma sector, the government has rolled out a uniform code for pharmaceutical marketing practices. The applicability of the code is not just limited to pharma companies, but also agents, wholesalers, distributors, as well as retailers. No gifts of any kind to medical practitioners or their family, no vacations, and a strict cap on free drug samples. These are some of the key restrictions laid down in the code. To take a deep dive, we are joined by Dr. R.V. Asokan, National President of the Indian Medical Association, and Murli Neelakantan, Principal Lawyer at Amicus. Gentlemen, thank you so much for making time and speaking to CNBC on this very, very important conversation around the unethical practices. Let me start with Dr. Asokan first. What is your view on this development, and do you think it's effective to curb the unethical practices that exist now?
Well, this document is very much acceptable to the medical profession of the country. Since there is nothing new that has come out in this code, whatever has been stipulated here is already there in the professional ethics and professional conduct rules of 2002 by Medical Council of India. It has been well accepted and it has been restated here. Some more clarity. So this document is much balanced and acceptable to the medical practitioners. And moreover, it also states, if there is a gap, if something has not been described here, then it will be referred to the ethics and etiquette regulations of the Medical Council of India of 2002, which is much more acceptable because pharma industry coming under medical ethics is something which the profession has been asking for. Not only pharma industry, any industry which is dependent on patient care should follow medical ethics. So to that extent, this document is acceptable to the doctors of India. That's very much in place.
Right. Mr. Murli, what do you make of the self-declaration that has to be submitted by the end of every fiscal year? Do you think it is practical, or do you think it is going to be effective in curbing such unethical practices that exist in the system, healthcare system?
The first problem is, how do you enforce it? So it's very nice to say you will have to publish and provide transparency so that we can hold them accountable, we can audit them. What happens if they don't do it? And that continues to be the big challenge with this code as it was with the previous code, that neither the government nor the association can do anything to the pharmaceutical company, which means the worst case scenario. And we've had many instances of violation by pharma companies. There was an RTI. We know that more than 24 of them have violated the code. What is the punishment? At most, they can be suspended from membership of some industry association. Zero impact. So it's not really about the detail of this, it is the impact. You can have lots of provisions requiring them to do lots of things, but unless there is some enforcement mechanism which is painful to them, they can just say, forget about it, I will continue to do what I'm doing. So that is the big criticism. It is not about whether those terms are sufficient or not. They may be sufficient. They may be enough to show who these doctors are, how much money they are getting. That transparency, similar to what in the US is the Sunshine Act. But what do you do if they, with pharma companies, just say, we won't do it? That is a big question.
That is a big question. Dr. Asokan, a lot of times vulnerable patients and their family members are not aware of these ethical practices. For the benefit of our viewers, could you help us understand what happens in reality when when some doctor or some chemist is prescribing a medicine or endorsing something? How dark is that web of lies and deceit? What is the reality of these unethical practices?
I'm not here to talk about the unethical practices of it. I don't think I am aware of any such nexus.
Okay.
But it is certainly said that there is a nexus, and it may be true it's for the law enforcing organizations. For us, we are a voluntary body. safeguarding the ethics and etiquette of the profession. And we do not encourage any nexus of any doctor, retailer nexus on commercial basis. If it is brought to the attention of the medical council, proper action has to be taken. A point made by the advocate is that we do doubt the legality of this uniform code for pharmaceutical marketing practices. I don't think it has been supported legally for a mandatory provision. Either it has to be voluntary and an ethical code. You cannot have both. You cannot have an ethical code as well as have a regulation. The government wants a regulation, they should come out with a regulation.
All right. Gentlemen, we've run out of time on this broadcast for this conversation, but thank you so much for weighing in on this very important conversation around the healthcare system. All right, moving on.